I remember growing up in the Philippines when I would walk back from school and the sun would be bitingly hot. You can feel it. You can see the mirage on the streets, and the cars and jeepneys, tricycles would just be zooming past each other as I walked the side street. My brother showed me a shortcut that would take us through a forest filled with banana leaves that would just arch above us, creating shelter just to hide away from the heat. And I remember him teaching me when it rained that the leaves are so large that you can use them as umbrellas. The house that I grew up in, it was simple. It was comfortable. Um, we had a gate that was painted in orange and had spikes. And in the front, we had a large single lone mango tree that went above our roof. On cool days, I remember my dad would sit in the front porch and rock in his chair. The sun just, whispering through the leaves. And if you're lucky enough, you might just see a ripe mango ready for picking. And I would climb the tree and, as best as I can, pick the fruit. Sometimes we would just throw rocks and try to have the mango fall towards us. Something that is ingrained in my memory as a child are Sunday mornings. I always remember waking up with some jazz playing and bossa nova. That's my mother's favorite genre of music. She would play it on her tape or CD player, as well as our neighbor's roosters crowing, just waking up everyone in the street. If you're lucky enough to wake up real early, before anyone else, even before the roosters, you might actually catch some peace and quiet and enjoy the cool morning breeze. Everything is covered in dew, and then there's no one else. It's just you, just the silence. That's all I remember from home. That's all I knew. My bahay, my balay.
This is Kim Crawley / Red Power speaking. What you're about to see right now is a whole tape based on violence. A wrestling organization called EFCW.
Tonight is the first night of EFCW.
Extreme Fighting Championship Wrestling. The place where you can get knocked the F out. So if you're watching this tape, you better watch the end of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by knockout, Red Powder.
I first got into wrestling, first introduced to it with a WCW Thunder video game. From there, I turned on TNT and first got into WCW, and it was just in awe of how much pain and turmoil these guys will willingly go through.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing not to be able to really recall. There's people that's one day I was watching TV, I flicked on, I was like, what is this? And then there it was. There's this memory. I have pictures of me at 2 years old sitting next to a wrestling ring full of wrestlers. That's how far this goes back for me. I grew up on watching the same VHS wrestling tapes every day in front of the TV. I'd wake up, my grandmother would make me breakfast and then put in a wrestling VHS. That was my childhood. And then fast forward, I remember I'll never forget hearing you, and you had a little crowd. I guess it was in the morning or something. And I heard wrestling talk. So I just sauntered on over and just kind of, I guess probably waiting for wrestling to come up or a question. Cause it's oh, I'm going to control this conversation.
I just struck up a conversation about WCW Nitro. I couldn't help just talk to random strangers about it. It was it was hard to be a wrestling fan even still, because there was a lot of bad stigma to it. Kids will be kids. Kids always look for a reason to jab at you and give you shit and make fun of you or whatever. And the number one issue is to them was that wrestling was fake.
I remember constantly being on the defensive. I mean, I had a stepdad who would go out of his way and tell me, oh, the way you watch that stuff, it's fake. And I've always had pretty much the same argument. Are fight scenes in a movie fake? I mean, this is a fight scene in a movie where you get one live take in front of a huge audience. If you mess up, that's it. There's no cut. And they tell a story in there. When wrestling is done right, it can be a very beautiful thing. And it's something that you can get encapsulated in. And there's times where a match can hook you now, and it's 1, 2, oh, and it can trick you still. There's an art to that. I think as a child, I saw through that a little bit even then. And maybe a lot of people just weren't ready or couldn't get past the whole, it's fake. Yeah, it was an interesting thing to constantly be on the defense of professional wrestling. So when you meet someone who feels that with you, I think there's an instant camaraderie. Pro wrestling was a huge thing to me of meeting people and knowing who my friends were going to be. I think some people have that with video games. Some people have that with a favorite show, maybe football. For me, it was professional wrestling. And when I met a fellow pro wrestling fan, it was just such a good jump off point.
Can you go pick up your Barbie dolls off the floor, Kevin?
I remember filming my neighbor and I wrestling, and obviously he wasn't as into wrestling as I was. It's fine and whatever, and he moved on to do other things, and I wanted to maintain, filming wrestling matches. So then I meet you, and then you already have your own set of friends that you do backyard wrestling matches or wrestling matches on the regular, and you already had your own system going.
I didn't know backyard wrestling was a thing. I didn't know that. I got this camera, and then I think the first thing I ever shot was a parody of a parody of Scary Movie.
Hello? What's up? Who is this? Yes, hello? Now who is this?
This is Kevin. Well, what are you doing?
I don't know. What are you doing?
I'm just chilling.
And next thing you know, we're wrestling, and it started on a couch bed, just a pull-out couch bed.
You want a piece of me? Yeah! I'll break his dang ankle. I'll do it. I'll do it.
And then ever since then, it was just completely off to the races. And you showed up during the couch bed wrestling days. And when you came in to introduce you to the set of brothers that I was filming with, but when you showed up and you were a big boy, so when you came in and they're two relatively small dudes, I'm like, look who I got to join, our couch bed wrestling. And you showed up. It's like, good Lord. And our eyes lit up as if we were little, like, 10, 11-year-old bookers, pro wrestling bookers. Like, he's going to be a star. He's our Big Show. He'll play Big Show. He'll play Kane. He'll play The Undertaker. This is perfect. This is all coming together. So after we destroyed that couch bed, I think we almost thought that we invented backyard wrestling. It's like, well, we can just go out in the grass. Like, right. Like, why are we doing it in here? And I'll never forget, there's actually a specific match. We started inside the house and we used camera cuts and made our way outside and finished the match outside.
Oh, you want to watch? Don't start with Cupid.
Now, once we got outside and finished that match, it's like everything starts out here now. Now this is where the wrestling is.
Every other kid, if they want to be a basketball player, they find a basketball court to practice basketball. If you want to be a baseball player, you find a baseball field, and there's one at every school. When you're a professional wrestling fan, of course you're going to try the wrestling moves with whoever and however, with or without the public resources.
Yeah, I mean, we improvised. We had to, and we made the best of it. And really, really glad that we did. With wrestling, I didn't know the outlets. I didn't know. I'm not sure if I knew there were schools for wrestling or not. I'm not sure what I was really familiar with. This is all, we're not even teenagers yet. So just randomly driving around with my father one day and seeing at a place called Planet Wrestling. I said, whoa. Let's go back. Let's see what that was. And 100% expected to go in. I thought there was going to be amateur wrestling shoes and singlets. And I was like, oh, okay, ear guards and whatnot. And I walked in, it was just all wrestling merchandise, figures and shirts and whatnot. And there's a little curtain. And I peeked behind as if there was just a light, a wrestling ring. I was like, and of course, God bless my dad. He's had to go ask, do you do birthday parties here or anything like that? And I'm not even sure if they did at the time. You learn pro wrestling as a carny business, and it's like, yeah, $125 for 2 hours, and that was it. I knew come July, that's where we would all be, and that changed. That right there changed a lot.
Edge. Here comes Edge, lightweight champion.
You come in with the grand package that could make any wrestling fan's dream come true as a kid, and facilitate a location for us to rent out a wrestling ring. Couldn't ask for anything more as a wrestling fan at the time.
Yeah, you can't recreate that feeling. And I remember walking in, and I was actually the last one of us to get in the ring. Of course, you go behind the curtain, and all of us, kids, we're all like, oh my God, they would jump in or whatever. I was like, I'm not getting in until it's time to start. It was weird thing. I looked at it as this weird, it's going to be a moment. When I first get there, I just walking around the ring, I didn't know what to do with myself. I think I was just giddy. I was just an awkward kid, walking around this ring and looking at everybody else during the entrances and just wow, I can't believe we're here. And that changed the game for the next, I guess, from then on, because it started off with that birthday party, which obviously none of us paid for. But after that, it was, all right, guys, we gotta can we all pitch in? We have to get $125. And then that was the mission, saving money and collectively getting the money so we could go back. And that's what it was for a while. It was the backyard, and whenever we could, Planet Wrestling, back and forth. And this is during the time where we were pretending to be wrestlers on TV still.
Oh.
I think we got to find out what we were good at through being those different wrestlers, honestly. Because I'm going to do different things. I'm going to wrestle a different way if I'm Stone Cold. And if the next match, if I'm Rob Van Dam, trying these kicks and stuff like that, a lot of them can't do. And I realized, okay, that's not in my moveset. Well, maybe this is. Maybe the Lou Thesz press. Maybe I'm really good at that. Or maybe I'm really good at a super kick. So I think it actually did a lot of people good. We got to kind of find out. And it was at one match, we were our tag team that we created.
Red Banner, Champion, Team Hellraisers.
The Hellraisers. And even then, it was the Hellraisers versus Billy and Chuck, a real tag team. But we wanted to be our characters because that was the dream. It was always like the Hellraisers tag team become the champs. And I think the first ever complete no emulating at all was Hellraisers versus the Delaware brothers, I think, Brett and Ethan, which just their real names. They lived in Delaware, and then winning with double sharpshooters for Owen Hart, who had like passed away. We wanted to win a match with double sharpshooters. I think that was the first ever, just straight up, no emulating at all. And then I remember my cousin who was involved with us, he knew stuff. So he'd come in and we'd be like, "You're Chris Jericho." And he'd be like, "Okay, what does he do?" Like, he does like the walls of Jericho. He goes, "Okay, how do I do it?" And I remember he would call spots like a neck breaker, and I'd get in line for a neck breaker, and he's giving me a bulldog. Like, what? Like he just constantly confused the stuff. But I remember him saying, like, "Why don't we be our own characters, or like, why don't we just like make one up, make stuff up?" I'm just like, yeah. Well, I said, "Well, I do that with Jeff Band and stuff." Well, he's like, "Why don't we all like do that? We just make up stuff and we can like create our own names." I was like, "Yeah, yeah. Why?" And this was the catalyst for so much creativity and imagination, and seeing what people came up with and what I came up with for other people. I mean, the characters in the EFCW roster were just unbelievable.
Just a minute! Someone really ought to work on his manners, Eleonora.
Behind in your orders again?
Chester. Always barging in. You can't rush the magic, you know.
Speaking of the snake oil, are you sure you aren't missing any this time?
Don't be impolite. Look, it's all here. A wildflower honey spell for Erica's acne, thyme honey for Mrs. Lark's big meeting.
Whatever, honey. You're just lucky I need the money, or else no one would deliver this shit.
Have a wonderful day! Well, he could certainly use some sweetening up. Eleonora, we just can't afford to have Chester's big, gloomy mug as the face of our business. Of course. Sorry about this, sugar. Chester, my shining sun. How are you today?
Fine. Look, can I just get the orders on up?
This one is a little bonus gift for you. When you get home, just add a sprinkle of
No.
cinnamon.
I don't want any of your new age bullshit. If you really want to give me a bonus, I take cash.
But I made it special for you. But look. See? It's delicious.
Ugh. No, I definitely don't want it.
Chester, won't you please just try some? I was up all night making it.
Sorry. I have your deliveries to make.
Good night, Eleonora. I'm so glad you could join us for tea today, Chester.
Who else were you expecting?
Don't be rude, Chester. Eleonora is sitting right there. Will that be chamomile or Earl Grey?
Actually, I'm more interested in talking about the rays than I am the tea.
I think it's impolite to discuss money matters without some refreshment.
Okay, fine. I'll have the normal kind, Lipton, or whatever.
I'll make you an Earl Grey. Would you like a honey bun? They're an old family recipe. Clumsy me! That's the last of the sugar ruined. How about some honey for that tea? Fresh this week.
Oh. Not if it tastes anything like that honey bun. Is this what you're selling to your customers?
You know, Chester, I've been meaning to talk to you. Miss Honey's Home Remedies requires a certain service with a smile, and
I'm
well,
sorry. Do you have anything else to eat?
I have the honey buns.
No, like a sandwich or something.
Yes, I suppose I can find a little something if you'll give me a moment. Eleonora, darling, would you help me in the kitchen, please?
And don't think I forgot about that raise.
Can you imagine Ellie spitting out a homemade honey bun? He is absolutely out of order.
Ah, finally, some real food. Now, I was thinking, I deliver your medicine on time every week. I deserve at least a 15% raise. I mean, come on. Does this sandwich have honey on it?
I find that the sweetness complements the bite of the cheese.
Do you have to put honey on everything? I'm gonna go make my own.
Chester! You're going to eat the honey buns that I provided.
Oh, like hell. Put down the butter knife, honey.
You're going to sit in your chair with proper posture in front of the meal that Eleonora spent all afternoon making, and have your cheese and honey sandwiches with a bit of jam to top it all off. Do you know why, dear Chester?
Actually, I'm not. What's your problem?
Because it's the polite thing to do!
What the? How did you? Look, I'm sorry about the plant, but the honey thing, it's not a big deal. I just don't think it tastes right.
You know, Chester, I've had a few delivery boys in my day who didn't quite work out. Do you know what they all had in common?
Look. Okay, I believe you. You're a witch. That's great. Now let me go.
Bad manners. Eleonora, darling, let's get you cleaned up. We've got a new blend in for next week's orders.